What's up, fellas? It's time for the Thursday edition, midsummer of Wake Up Mintzy, presented by the fine folks of Dude Wipes. And today is August 15th. You know what that means? We're halfway through August, and football season is just right around the corner. I can almost smell it. I don't know how the hell this is a summer day either. So walking through here, rain, gray, like 70 degrees. Seemed pretty dang far from South Louisiana, which I'm used to. I'm your host, Barstool Mintzy, joined as always by Tyler Moody. Love having him in the Barstool office this week in the studio. There's just renewed energy, spirit. Good times are coming. How are we doing, Moody?
There is definitely a renewed spirit. The energy's high. It's just been amazing up here this week. We've obviously got some cool stuff coming out here very soon that's kind of lit a fire under both of our asses, I feel like. I think sometimes you have a lot of stuff going on in your outside life and you can't always put your energy into work and whatnot. And I think things are coming together at the right time for everybody involved in some cool things. I don't want to spoil too much. We've got some good things going on, and I definitely have a renewed energy myself.
I love it, dude. Good energy, good spirit, right as we head to football. As always, Wake Up Mintzy presented by the fine folks of Dude Wipes. They're taking over the toilet paper world. It's a revolution. And when you're in, like, the deep south and you're sweating in the summer walking around, you need Dude Wipes. It's going to make your life a hell of a lot better when you're dealing with the, what do they call it, the mud butt? Is what people would call it, Moody.
Oh, yeah, Mudbutt. We actually have one of our friends, his Call of Duty Warzone name is Mudbutt because he gets it so frequently, his nickname became Mudbutt. And Dude Wipes has saved his life, so I don't really know what we're going to call it.
Dude Wipes is saving everybody's life. You can get it at Amazon, Target, Walmart, nationwide. It's a revolution. Check out the Dude Wipes. And as always, drinking some Stella Blue, some cold brew. Cold brew, I believe, 20% off of Stella Blue this week, too. So check that out. I'm personally partial to the blueberry flavor, but love them all. You know, I'm a hot coffee guy in the winter and an iced coffee guy in the summer. Moody, should we hit them with the big announcement now, or should we? You want to do it a little bit?
You can hit it whenever you want to. That's on you.
Okay, well, either way, let's get into the football thing. Also, we're going to talk some serious football today. Chat, fire away some questions if you got anything for Moody and I. All right. Let's get into it. Moody, you've been doing your research. We've been getting into it this week. NFL is coming. We've been looking at draft. We're obviously DraftKings partners. We love DK. I've been going through all the over-under win totals, the division odds, the Super Bowl. You know, I kind of was doing the college football breakdowns the last couple of weeks. I'm finishing my SEC blogs. I actually got an Ole Miss one preview coming out today. Now I'm also getting into the NFL. And I just feel like the thing with football is you're winning money in August when you prepare. I think that's really what it is. Because if you wait till the season, you're just swimming. And I've got my big $500 fantasy auction this weekend. I know you got some drafts coming up, so I'm going down that rabbit hole too. And getting into NFL, a few things that I thought stood out. All right, first of all, I went through all the division odds bets. And obviously, like I said, let's talk some. I'm just down to get into it. Let's touch on the NFC North to start here. We're in Chicago. There's an energy around this Bears bunch. I mean, you could just feel it walking around the city. Caleb Williams in. They finally have the savior at quarterback, or they hope so. Bears have had like 44 quarterbacks since 1986. You know, you got Rome Odunze, first-round pick from Washington, stud receiver. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, your loaded receiver. Yeah, DeAndre Swift at running back. You had a first-round tackle in Darnell Wright last year. The defense played to form with Montez after the Montez Sweat trade down the stretch. What are you thinking about the Chicago Bears this year?
I'm not quite sold on Caleb Williams. I didn't watch enough USC football, I guess, for me to have a complete take on him, right? I really and truly did not watch enough USC football. So I need to see more of him. He looked perfectly fine in the short preseason game, but let's be honest, there's a lot that he has to do in order to win games in the NFL. But I'll say this, I don't think there has been a quarterback maybe ever that has stepped into a better situation as the first overall pick. Weapons all around him, a veteran in Keenan Allen. You got DJ Moore, who has really become a great wide receiver. There's talent there. The question is, can he take that talent to where they're expecting to get to? I just don't know. I'm not sold on Caleb Williams. I've also seen him swing a baseball bat, and because of that sticks in the back of my mind. I know it has nothing to do with football, but I'm not sold yet on the Chicago Bears by any means.
Well, I think they'll be fun. I think it's one of those things. It's all about expectations. And when you look at odds to win the NFC North, Detroit's like even money. Green Bay's plus 230. The Bears are plus 275. And Minnesota is like plus 650. Obviously, Minnesota got some bad news yesterday with quarterback J.J. McCarthy tearing his meniscus, their first-round pick, going to be out for the year. So it's going to be the Sam Darnold show in Minnesota, which I actually think might not be as bad as people think. On the Chicago front, I think you're looking at a team that's going to be fun. I think it's going to be kind of all over the map. I think they're going to play higher scoring game. Like, I think the defense has improved, but I don't think it's as good as what we saw last year down the stretch. I do like Montez Sweat rushing the passer and Jalen Johnson at corner. But, like, I think you're looking at like an 8 or 9 win, like, really fun season where you see flashes. And, like, Caleb Williams, when you watch him, it's kind of Mahomes-like. He holds onto the ball a lot and extends plays, but that's kind of his magic, especially with the way he can chunk it down the field. I mean, it's like Mahomes-like. And so that's kind of one of those things where it can work, but, like, will the ball come out in time? Like, how what's the right balance of, like, being a disciplined quarterback and ad-libbing? And, like, even watching that preseason game, when you watch all his dropbacks, I mean, he holds onto the ball, he rolls right, he just keeps plays going. And that can work, but it's also dangerous. It's like a fine line and an art. But I love what you said about DJ Moore. I think he's been one of the better NFL receivers. When there's nobody that's dealt with more crappy quarterbacks, too, through the years. I mean, he's played with, like, Sam Darnold, Cam, when Baker was struggling in Carolina, Justin Fields. So I think he's primed for a breakout. And Stephen Shea loves him as well. And then Keenan Allen should be a good influence.
7 seconds. You eat that in 7 seconds, I'll place any $20 bet you want right now.
All right, we're going fast banana. All right. Give me a count.
People said they need to wake up. Give them a
Oh, you want to wake up?
They want to wake up.
Okay, people are saying. I feel like the energy's been pretty damn high this week.
All right, here we go.
I feel like I'm ripping holes in walls because I'm freaking fired up for football. Let's eat a fast banana. Let's get excited about life, boys. It's a good time.
7 seconds, $20 free roll. Go.
Oh, hang on.
All right.
Yeah, I gotta get prepared.
Okay, get a little bit on there.
7 seconds.
7 seconds. I'll give you 8 since that's a big one.
Dude, this is a big ass banana.
All right, you ready?
All right,
go. Nah, not happening. No chance. $13.65. It's going to be a no-go, brother.
That's a pretty epic fail. Dude, I was gagging on the banana.
He didn't know the banana was coming either.
I had no idea. Moody hit me with the element of surprise, but, we got to give the people what they want. That's better, though. My last ones have been like 18 seconds. I don't know what's happened to my fast banana skills. They've suddenly, like, disappeared. I don't know. Maybe it's because, like, I think I'm losing some weight and my stomach's getting smaller.
I remember you doing a 9-second fast banana at one time, so I was thinking maybe if you could beat your record, it would give you a little free bet right there.
No, I appreciate the offer. I hate to disappoint, but God, I don't know. We're gonna have to do some practicing, man. The fast banana skills aren't what they once were. That's for damn sure.
Facts.
We got to do better. I did at least the eating competition performance during the Amazing Race was good though. All right, let's just go ahead and hit them with the announcement. I'm in a good mood. Major announcements. The world may never be the same after this announcement, Moody. It's just so major. Moody, Stephen Shea, and I, we're bringing the Fantasy Football Factory podcast back. The people have been asking for it. We're doing it. And you know what's even more exciting about it? It's being sponsored by DraftKings. And we're going to take it a different angle, and we're going to be promoting DFS, doing weekly teams, all kinds of amazing competitions on DraftKings all year long. The Stoolies can compete with us. First one's coming out today, breaking down quarterbacks. We're going to do our preseason ones like we do every year, quarterbacks, running backs, then a wide receiver, tight end one. And then every week during the season, they're going to be coming out Thursday morning. But as I said, it's going to be more of a DFS thing. We're going to be taking that angle more in our partnership with DraftKings. We're looking forward to compete with the Stoolies. We're proud DK partners. Moody, let's get fired up. Dude, the fantasy pod's back. Shay's pumped. I can't wait. Freaking love it. Love getting to talk about fantasy football with y'all.
That's right. Episode 1 dropping later today. We'll have the quarterback episode coming out. Running backs next week. Wide receivers coming up after that. And then we're going to try throughout the course of the season to answer people's questions. Obviously, we'll do the DFS every single week. And I'm excited for that because, there's a lot of money to be made in DFS if we can have a good season here.
Yeah, and I love that angle too because it's like the world of fantasy. Obviously, I still do the season-long leagues. As do you, but I love the daily fantasy thing. And then for people who haven't played DFS, you get a budget and you put together your teams, and it's just a weekly competition on DraftKings. And they have like $20, like they have a couple that people win $1 million in the season. And so it's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to taking that angle and showing off my fantasy chops, baby.
Yeah, and we have somebody in the chat that just said we need a Sunday morning show
that's
about
something,
DFS. And we're talking about.
It was funny that got brought up on the way here, because so Shay and I and Moody have done the Sunday morning 30-minute thing before, and we're debating it. And so we're going to have a show come out every Thursday morning with DraftKings prices and all that, and it's perfect for Thursday morning because then it affects Thursday night. It lives over the weekend for Sunday and Monday. But Moody and I are strongly leaning to the 30-minute Sunday morning show. We're going to talk to Shay, see if we can get him involved as well. We're thinking like right after that actives and actives list comes out, what is it, 2 hours before kickoff?
About an hour and a half, 90 minutes.
Hour and a half. So we would probably do it then to update the injury thing, go over last-minute pricing, give prop bets, and then mainly to just answer your questions. Because that's one of the most fun things. We're all about interacting with the stoolies and the listeners, and they used to get pretty good views on those things. So I want to do it. I'm all in. I'm excited about football, and like I said, now that DraftKings is involved with FFF Pod, it makes a lot of business sense too. So let's put some damn chips to the pot. Let's get after it.
So for those that don't know, Mintz and I actually met because of the Fantasy Football Hour on his old show. I was doing 2 other radio shows. Mintz was doing a sports talk show for almost 4 hours. A 4-hour sports talk show, which is crazy. So we decided to do a fantasy football hour every day.
4 to 5 p.m. Central.
Flat out blew up. It became the biggest thing in the state of Louisiana at the time. Like it was.
We were the first fantasy football hour in the history of Louisiana radio.
It was awesome. So that was how we met up. And I mean, for those of you that are wondering, I've got a platinum rating on Yahoo. I mean, a diamond rating on Yahoo. So we've been having a lot of success in the fantasy world, and I'm planning on bringing it to the people.
Yeah, and it's funny too, the cycles of life, Moody, because we did the fantasy show in Shreveport, Bossier, and then we were doing it for ESPN Baton Rouge, and now we're doing it here. So, there's a lot of history with it. And, y'all follow at Moody Mac TV on Twitter. Or is it Moody Mac 14? What's your
TV.
Moody Mac TV on Twitter. And follow at FFF Pod. We're going to be posting on that FFF Pod account. We're also not just going to be posting fantasy lists and plays and stuff, but we're going to be posting our prop picks because so much, now people love those in-game player prop picks too. For the week, and I think we're going to, fire those up. Stephen Shea does a damn good job, and I'm sure he's got some parlays planned for primetime games. He's had a lot of success with that. So I'm stoked, man. I mean, I'm so stoked. What are you looking at my SIP socks?
Yeah, just threw your socks up there. My bad, I hit the wrong button.
I got my SIP socks. I'm repping.
I'll also be every Friday giving out my picks for the week. I do Moody's Moneymakers with another buddy of mine. I went 20 games over 500 last year against the spread. Everything we do is against the spread. You have to make your picks against the spread. So I'll also be posting those on Fridays as well.
Hell yeah. Just onward and upward, man. Just the energy. I don't know. I guess it's something about this time of year, with the football season coming in the air and the NFL starting. NFL is actually 3 weeks from tonight. Ravens-Chiefs opener, Thursday night game. College football week 0 starts in 9 days, even though I'm kind of like inclined where it's like that's a tease, but then the real thing starts the weekend of August 31st, Labor Day. But, man, it's going to be here, and, the thing with football season, it's going to be a straight sprint to the Super Bowl. And with that, let's get back into it. As I said, I'm glad to hear the chat liking the Sunday morning idea. I want to do the Sunday morning thing. I don't see why we shouldn't.
Sure. No, I'm all for it as long as Chay's cool with it. I'm definitely in.
Yeah.
Speaking of that Ravens and Chiefs game, like if you had to break that game down right now and make a decision, well, I mean, where are you at on that? I mean, I know it's a couple weeks out here, but that's a very exciting game to open up the season.
Yeah, let's talk about some stuff with both of these teams. All right, the Ravens thing, and we'll get into some fantasy too. Derrick Henry is born to wear a Baltimore Ravens jersey. Have you seen him in that jersey? Have you seen the pictures?
Yeah, he looks like
it's just
made for it. He really does. I saw him walking out of the tunnel, and I guess they were doing some kind of team photo shoot or something, and it looked right.
I mean, it's just right, the right fit. And, there's so much talk always about, like, running backs when they hit 30 and they break down and all that, and that's all true. But the thing with Derrick Henry, he's not a regular human being. He's not a real human being. He's tractor Cito. And the last couple of years in Tennessee, no one's gotten hit at the line of scrimmage more because since A.J. Brown's left, there's no passing game threat, and they have a crappy offensive line. Well, the Ravens got weapons with Zay Flower and Mark Andrews, and more importantly than that, they got the threat of Lamar Jackson running the ball. And Lamar Jackson has been 230 pounds the last few years trying to absorb more contact. It slowed him down. Guess what, Moody? He showed up at 205 this year. I think you're going to be seeing more bursts from Lamar. I mean, what are people going to do about the zone read with Lamar and Derrick Henry? What are you going to do?
No, that's been my main thought. The zone read is going to kill teams. I mean, you make the wrong decision, and it's a touchdown for either one of those guys. You know what I mean? Like, this is a real threat for teams in the AFC. I have not been in on the Ravens because I haven't always trusted Lamar early in his career. worried about injuries. The passing wasn't there. He's become a much better passer. He now has legitimate weapons all around him. We know that defense is going to be good. This is the first time that I am buying the Baltimore Ravens heavily. I'm actually
well, they were both, like, if you look at
both of these teams, but I do really like the Ravens this year.
Well, if you look at metrics, like the Ravens were the best team in the NFL during the regular season last year. They were the 1 seed. I just don't. I mean, we've talked about it forever, but I just don't know what the hell they were doing in that AFC Championship game. KC had an elite pass defense, elite pass rush, and if they had a weakness, it was their run defense, and the Ravens just dropped Lamar back the whole game. What the hell are you doing? And I think Todd Monken, the Ravens OC, is a damn good OC. I think he's, won 2 national titles with Stetson Bennett at Georgia, made him look like an NFL quarterback. I don't know. I just feel like they just blew that AFC Championship game, and they've got a lot of other great things going on. The depth of receiver behind Zay Flowers is a little shaky, but that's nitpicking. Offensive line and flux. And you got to think the Ravens, too. Could there be a more revenge situation than losing at home to the Chiefs when they had a chance to make the Super Bowl when they finally had that 1 seed, and now they get to go play them on the opening Thursday night? And I'm not saying KC won't care and be ready. We saw KC drop that Week 1 game to Detroit last year. But I feel like there should be more of a sense of urgency for Baltimore than KC in this game. But I hate betting against Patrick Mahomes.
Sure. Do you know the line yet?
I think it was like KC by 3, I believe.
It's at 2.5 now, yeah.
Okay, well, 2.5 makes you almost kind of like the Ravens a little bit.
Well, you've talked about, there's something specific you've talked about, these like 2.5. Well, give some of your.
Okay.
Yeah, give a couple.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with gambling, like you look at it, KC 2.5, you're like, oh, I should take KC. They can win by a field goal at home. I feel like they, sometimes they're baiting people with those kind of lines. They're making people say, oh, I can take Mahomes at home. They win by a field goal. I'm good. And I think the numbers that are specifically like that are 2.5 and 6.5, where, you're inclined to like the favorites when it's favored by 2.5 and 6.5 because you can win by a field goal and a touchdown. And that kind of makes me go, like, inverse logic and like the underdogs. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and especially when it's road favorites by 2.5. That's the all-time sucker line. When a road favorite is laying 2.5 on the road. Anytime I just, see road favorite by 2.5, I immediately put stars on the game, just like something's up with that game. And that's often when you see, you can look at the consensus reports, and you'll see 80% of the public on one side, and it's usually the obvious road favorite. And that's when the rat traps come and the odds makers make a lot of money. Like last year, one example. LSU was 2.5 at Ole Miss right after Ole Miss lost 24-10 to Alabama. And the second I saw that was the line when it came out, I'm like, oh, I love Ole Miss. Just it was that fast and that simple. But you see that line. That's the ultimate rat line to me. I'll tell you one game in college that looks like that. LSU 6.5 against USC out in Vegas. I smell a rat on that one. I feel like everybody thinks LSU's going to go out and wax them. And LSU's lost 4 Week 1 games in a row. And out in Vegas, that's USC's wheelhouse, having to go out west to play them. I think that game's going to get wild, too. But anyway, that's the college. And I kind of getting off topic. I'm just all fired up and I'm all over the place. I got energy. We're talking football. What could be better, But the Ravens-Chiefs thing, all right, let's touch on the Chiefs. We're kind of going to do a little bit of deep dive here on NFL. And like I said, anybody that's got questions, fire them away. All right. I've been talking about the Xavier Worthy situation, and the Chiefs keep posting damn videos on Twitter of him catching 70-yard touchdowns every day, and it's getting everybody excited. He was the first-round pick out of Texas. He's got I don't know if he's quite as fast as Tyreek Hill, but that's what they're going for.
I think he ran a 4.33.
Okay. Well, when you look at that KC receiving core, nobody knows what's going to happen with Rashee Rice. Is he going to get suspended or not? But he came on strong toward the end of the year. They signed Hollywood Brown, which I thought was a sneaky signing, but he just can't stay on the field. He's already out 4 to 6 weeks. So if Xavier Worthy could stretch the field, then you know how rookies are. Maybe he'll come on more toward the end of the year. You don't have too much expectations early. He's a guy I'll be watching in fantasy just because, if you take him as your 4th receiver and he doesn't do anything, you just cut him. But the upside's just crazy. Travis Kelce's a year older, but he's still probably the best tight end in the NFL. I don't know if he quite has the explosiveness he did. But the thing with the Chiefs, I know you love Isaiah Pacheco. He just pops off the screen at you running the ball. They got a good O-line. And, man, their defense – you're always going to think about Mahomes and stuff. That defense, that defense is what won it for him last year, especially the Ravens game, the AFC Championship. They shut down Miami in the cold. Then they went to Baltimore and held them to 14 points. And in that Super Bowl, they played great against the Niners too. And that defense is still loaded, man. They got, I know they lost L'Jarius Sneed, who's really a corner, but they still got good young corners. Chris Jones, one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. So, I don't know. It's just one of those things. The season starts for Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game. Dude's played 6 seasons, and he's 4-2 in the AFC Championship. He's made it every year. It's the freaking craziest damn thing I've ever seen. So I don't know how you can bet against him. And then also I want to bring up, while we're on the DraftKings odds, Moody, the Chiefs are only minus 230 to win the AFC West. Shouldn't they be like minus 400 or 500?
Yeah, with those teams out there in the West, you would think they would be.
I mean, I know there's like hype, and like I'm all over the map on the Chargers thing because I do love the Harbaugh hire, and he brought his badass defensive coordinator from Michigan with him. Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator's former Harbaugh OC with Kaepernick when they ran that zone read in San Francisco. He also was the OC for Lamar and the Ravens. I think that means a physical running game's coming. But Herbert's already hurt, and he's missing learning the offense. And then the receiving core, losing Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I mean, it looks kind of dusty. You know, I like Ladd McConkey from Georgia, the rookie, but I don't know. Just feels like they're going to try to run the ball, be physical. I'm looking to bet some unders in Chargers games, and I think they'll be better. Their win total's 8.5, but I mean, I don't know if they can challenge KC. And then you look at the Raiders, the Antonio Pierce. I think they look like they could be kind of fun. You know, the Minshew thing could be fun. They'll chunk it. You know, I'm curious, like, does Devontae Adams want to be there anymore? You know, I'm kind of wondering about that. I like the Brock Bowers pick out of Georgia because he was the best SEC tight end I've ever seen. They're going to use him in the slot. Max Crosby certainly has a motor, but I think they could be, like, kind of fun frisky, but not challenge the Chiefs. And then, you know, you look at Sean Payton in Denver. He's got his quarterback he wants in Bo Nix. I think Nix is a good fit in the Payton offense because when you look at what Sean Payton, you know, think about Drew Brees, Sean Payton's offense. It's like being a point guard. It's like reading the line of scrimmage, you know, right audibles, knowing where to go with the ball, getting the ball out in like 1.8 seconds. I think Bo Nix can do all that for a rookie. Hell, he's like 23 or 24. The dude played college football as long as I went to college, it felt like. So I think he should adjust to the NFL early, but like, I don't see how anybody can, you know, compete with the Chiefs. I know minus 230 is like not the best odds, but you know what? You can throw in some parlays.
Yep.
You can throw in some parlays. So I think the Chiefs are going to dominate that division. And then getting to the Ravens thing a little bit, do you think the AFC North is the deepest and toughest division in pro football?
Yeah, probably so. I mean, all those teams not the Steelers. I don't think Pittsburgh's there. They will probably be better this season. I don't know how they could be worse offensively.
Still went 10-7 last year, though.
I know, but I just didn't watching them play. They didn't feel like a team that was 10-7 worthy. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably so. Probably the best division. I mean, that Cleveland defense is going to be great. Their offensive line's really good. I know they have no Chubb, but they should still be able to run it okay with Ford. The question with them is going to be, is Deshaun Watson healthy? Does he return to Houston form? If that happens, that's a very scary team. And then obviously Cincinnati, Burrow back healthy. Can they block for Burrow? That's really the biggest question for Cincinnati.
All right, first we'll hit Cleveland. Deshaun Watson, I feel like everybody's out on him now. Like, you know, I feel like everybody's out on him, and, you know, his Madden rating's like 75. He's had shoulder injuries. He had concussions last year. Obviously, everybody knows about the scandal where he left Houston. I mean, the thing with him, does anybody have more to prove in the entire NFL than Deshaun Watson this year, Moody?
Probably not.
I mean, he's got
the money they gave him. I think Kirk Cousins doesn't have any, like, to prove, but he needs to show Atlanta that he was worth the money they gave him. I think there's some pressure there on him. But, yeah, Deshaun Watson probably has more pressure than any quarterback in the league, not just because of the money they gave him, but because of what he's done in the past and the things around him. Like, he needs to have a year to try and make people forget about his past here, you know?
Well, when you look at Cleveland, I mean, Stefanski, really good offensive coach. I mean, look, I thought the coaching job, I mean, they freaking made the playoffs with Joe Flacco last year. I mean, that was incredible, the coaching job they did last year. You look at their team, they've got a good offensive line. Amari Cooper's still a solid number one receiver. The receiving core depth, I thought it was a little bit of a sneaky move bringing in Jerry Jeudy. You know, I know he didn't really ever blow up in Denver, but I always thought he was talented going back to Bama, so I think he's like a good upside guy if you get him cheap. David Njoku, good tight end. Mm-hmm. And then on that defense, the defensive line led by Myles Garrett's one of the best in pro football. So, I mean, I feel like their team, if Watson even plays average, they could be really good. And plus, they got a good home field. Man, nobody likes going to Cleveland in November or December. Those games get so mucked up, and that wind and sleet and all that. It's just a brutal place.
Which is also a concern for Deshaun Watson. I don't know how much he loves playing in that.
No.
Yeah, really and truly, I watched him play quite a bit last year because I had him in my dynasty.
Well, he didn't play that long.
Yeah, he didn't play that long, and he tried to play through injuries, looked poor. I mean, he made some really bad throws in the middle of the season right before he was out for a while. So, I don't know. I'm hoping he'll bounce back because I'm kind of stuck with him in some ways, but you know, I'm not real high on him.
All right, I've got Cleveland third in the division. kind of around that 9-8, 10-7 mark. Last year, I believe all 4 teams in this division had winning records, which is one of the first times in pro football because the Bengals finished 9-8, the Steelers 10-7, and the Ravens and Browns both made the playoffs. That's how tough this division is. The Bengals thing. All right, a lot to get into here. Joe Burrow showing up the Slim Shady haircut. Not nothing. Making a statement. I guess I listened to that. The Burrow, pardon my take interview got me. I don't know. I just feel like the thing with Burrow, obviously he's had a lot of injuries. He had the torn ACL. His rookie year last year, he had that calf injury to start the year. And so they got blown out 31-0 week 1 at Cleveland. Like, they weren't right until they went to the Niners, and they won that game week 5 or 6 in San Fran, and they were playing great, and then Burrow got that wrist injury. He was out for the year. They still ended up 9-8. I thought they were about to tank without Burrow. But I just feel like, in my heart of hearts, that Burrow's on one this year. Jamar Chase right now not practicing, worrying about contract stuff. T. Higgins got franchised. But, like, Chase not practicing, I mean, is that big a deal? Because Burrow and Chase, it'd be one thing if you were like didn't know the offense and him and Burrow hadn't played together going back to LSU. I don't think it's a big deal.
No, not at all.
And then Higgins still really good. They lost Tyler Boyd, who's like a solid slot guy, but that's the NFL. What are you going to do? Joe Mixon's gone, but I don't think that was a big deal. I like the Zach Moss-Chase Brown combo. The biggest question with them, the offensive line, they brought in Trent Brown, the older left tackle. They keep trying to get it better, but that's the thing. It's just protecting Burrow and keeping him on the field. Defense should be pretty good. They lost DJ Reader, who's one of the best run stoppers in the NFL, who went to Detroit. I didn't love that loss, but their defensive coordinator, Lou, is it Amarino? I don't know. He's got that long last name. Always does a damn good job with adjustments. They have an underrated secondary. So, look, I just feel like the Bengals thing, I don't know if they can win that division, but I could see Joe Burrow in the playoffs going on one. And he's the only guy that's shown he can beat Mahomes in a playoff game. The Bengals are the only team that's had success against the Chiefs. The Chiefs have just ruined the Bills, the Ravens, all these other teams. But Burrow, won the AFC Championship against them once and then almost did it again. He's beaten them a couple times in the season. And so I feel like the Chiefs or the Bengals are the main threat, like playoff-wise, to beat them. And, like, I know there's just so much heat. Like, I love the Ravens and their season and stuff, but, their playoff track record, I mean, they just got to do it, and that's kind of my thoughts on it. But the Bengals are like 14 or 15 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. And I'm like a weird guy with it. I believe in signs from the universe. This is 5 years later from the Burrow-Chase LSU National Championship in the Superdome and the Super Bowl being in New Orleans. How insane would it be if Burrow and Chase were in it? That would just be, bananas.
The fact that DraftKings and Vegas has Cincinnati as the favorite to win the AFC North.
It's close.
It's pretty much dead even. But
what are the odds you see? What are the odds you see?
They're plus 135. Baltimore's plus 145. So it's minor, but the fact that they do have Cincinnati there lets you know that Vegas definitely likes Cincinnati as well, and understandably so.
And then the Steelers. Okay, touch on the Steelers thing real quick while we're running through it. Look, I think the Jersey Jerry Steelers content is some of the best Barstool content we got. And if you've been following how much like the Russie stuff, he just keeps tweeting all this love at Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
It's all fun in the offseason. What's Jerry going to say when the game's 12-9 in the fourth quarter every week? Because that's what's coming.
He's probably used to that at this point. It's been that way for a couple of years.
But, like, when you look at – there's no quarterback better to play the Mike Tomlin style, just get the game into the fourth quarter and try to pull it out ugly than Russell Wilson. It's a perfect fit. Because the Steelers thing, they've got an elite defense. T.J. Watt's still one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. The defense should be loaded. I'm not touching anybody on this offense in fantasy football. Pickens is talented, but there's still rumors they're trying to get Ayuk. There's rumors there's a trade option out there from the Steelers to get Brandon Ayuk from the 49ers. And then Ayuk's also been offered a long-term extension. That certainly wouldn't hurt the Steelers. But even if they have Ayuk and Pickens, I don't think Russ can get them the dang ball consistently. I just don't. I'm just not a believer. And do you think Justin Fields plays a lot this year? How do you think that situation shakes out?
I think Russ will be good enough to hold on to the job, and I think they'll be almost the same team they were last year. I really don't see them being drastically better. I think they're going to be a middle of the road team that beats a couple good teams, loses to some bad teams, and they finish 8-9, 9-8. I think that's.
They always end up with that winning record somehow, though. That's one of the craziest Tomlin things. It's every year. They never, I don't know, but culture, but. I don't know. I'm just having a hard time saying Russell Wilson can be the savior or anything at this point.
I don't think either one of them could be the savior, personally.
Well, the Fields thing could be fun with the play calling if you zone read it and kind of scheme it up. Mm-hmm. I think that could be more fun than people think. The problem with Fields is if you make him a drop back passer, he just holds onto the ball too long. He's not an NFL drop back passer.
100%.
But I'm just very curious to see how that shakes out. That division's fascinating. And then the other deepest division, we kind of just touched on NFC North talking about the Bears, but let's get into that more. Let's talk about Detroit. America's darling. I mean,
you want to answer some questions?
Hell yeah, let's answer some questions, Chad. Let's go. I want to do
here that we can relate it back into this conference, and it's something we talked about yesterday. One of the questions was, does J.J. McCarthy's injury, he's out for the season, knee, done, does that affect Justin Jefferson's value? And I'll let you take the floor because I know you have a pretty thorough.
Yeah, so this is a hot take. Mm-hmm. I think it helps Justin Jefferson's value. I really do. Look, is Sam Darnold going to be some elite quarterback? No. But I like that he went and learned from Kyle Shanahan last year in the backup spot. I think that was good for him. And O'Connell, the Minnesota head coach, is off that McVay tree. I think he's a really good play caller. And I think the fact is that not having to change quarterbacks during the year is going to help Darnold and Jefferson's chemistry. And so I'm actually, fantasy-wise, we'll get into this more on the Fantasy FFF pod, follow it. I got Jefferson as my number 3 receiver behind Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb again. Because I really think in Minnesota with that offense, Darnold might not be the best quarterback. He might throw for some turnovers, but I think he can still throw for some yards in that dome. And I think they're going to play some wilder games. The interesting stuff in Minnesota, T.J. Hawkinson, stud tight end. He's out like the first 6 to 8 weeks off a torn ACL. Not sure what you're going to get from him. He helps Jefferson a lot because people had to cover him. Jordan Addison, they thought he might be banged up with an injury. It's looking okay. He had like a DUI thing. I don't know if he's faced suspension. They need Jordan Addison out there because if Addison and Hawkinson both aren't out there, why would you not bracket Jefferson? You got to have some guys out there to take some pressure off him. But I like the Justin Jefferson thing. I think people are, there's obviously a lot of concern with Cousins being gone, but I think he's going to be fine. Moody, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he's just so damn talented. As long as he's not getting double-teamed, he's going to find a way to get open. I mean, he's the kind of guy that even if he's not open, you throw it up to him, he makes a spectacular catch. Sam Darnold has shown at times that he can be serviceable. This would be the best receiver he's ever had to work with. I mean, by a pretty wide margin. So, I know that's not saying much. Justin Jefferson's better than a lot of receivers. But I think you're looking at a team that is fun, makes some games close. They don't win a lot of them. But Justin Jefferson will be perfectly fine in fantasy just because he's so damn talented.
No, I'm in on it. And one of the weirdest things in the NFL you see now is like when people change position. What's Aaron Jones in a Vikings jersey going to look like? I mean, that just doesn't feel right to me. And that's the one thing. I've always been a big Aaron Jones roadie because his versatile skill set, the way he can catch the ball and run. And I got some questions about Green Bay moving on from him for Josh Jacobs. And I think he might have a little more in the tank than people think. I've just always thought he's just super good.
Mm-hmm. We disagree there. I traded away Aaron Jones last year for ETN and another. I added another piece to Aaron Jones. Because I saw the decline. He's a guy that deals with hamstring injuries a lot. Like, I just think the older he gets, those hammies, they're not going to get better. I don't expect them to. He's going to miss a couple games. I'm not that big on Aaron Jones. But, like, on a per-play production standpoint, he's pretty damn good.
Well, I don't know. I hate the news for J.J. McCarthy tearing his meniscus, though. Just like football, I mean, these are all people, too. And, like, when we're doing fantasy and in life, you just kind of, like, get used to it because so many people get hurt. But, like, it's so brutal because everybody gets so excited about off season. Like, you got all these guys, and then people just start dropping like flies in camp. Sure. And it happens every year. But that's my thoughts on Jefferson. But looking at that NFC North, all right. Detroit, even money. Let's talk about the Detroit Lions. They're, like I said, they're America's darling. They were up 24-7 at halftime in the NFC Championship game and kind of blew it, if you want the honest truth. A lot to like here coming back. They got the best offensive line in pro football. The tackles with Taylor Decker and Penny Sewell, elite. Frank Ragnow at center. One of the best. They're stacked. Look at the correlation since they fixed that offensive line. Everybody used to think Jared Goff sucks now, and now everybody's on him, and he's getting like $40 million, $50 million a year. It's amazing what an offensive line will do. Amon St. Brown, one of the best receivers in the NFL. You've got Sam Laporta, who might be the number 1 tight end in fantasy off a stud rookie year. Jameer Gibbs, elite playmaker running back entering year 2. I mean, all the weapons are in play. They even got Jameson Williams, who I think could take the top off of defense and is kind of finally coming into his own late last year, entering year 3. Campbell, you've got fiery coach that's got him pumped. Can defensively, I mean, Hutchinson, elite pass rusher already, one of the best in the NFL. They've got a good pass rush. They signed DJ Reader, who helped the run D. Question on them was the secondary was terrible last year, but they did a lot of stuff in the offseason to try to fix it. They took Terrion Arnold first round. They brought in Carlton Davis from the Bucs, who kind of wasn't as good last year, but has had a good career. Meek Robertson from the slot. From the Raiders, I've always liked him just because he's a Louisiana guy. Man, can't not love him. We used to cover him at Louisiana Tech. He was like the honey badger light. So they made all the right moves in theory. Do you think they sustain the success? Will there be a hangover from the NFC Championship? What do you think?
I think they win the division for sure. I personally am not sold on these other teams in the division. I know everybody's buying Green Bay stock.
We'll get into that.
I'm the one that's not. We'll get into that in just a minute. I think the Lions do win this division. They're the favorite. I don't expect them to be as good as last year. I think the league will adjust a little bit to this passing attack. But Jahmyr Gibbs is freaking talented.
Yeah, I've got him as number 3 running back.
Yeah, he's really talented. And if he takes a step forward, that's bad news for the rest of the NFL as long as everything else, as long as their offensive line stays healthy. I think that's a really big thing.
But they were actually banged. The thing about last year was they were actually banged up on the line, and the depth still held on.
Exactly. But they, at their peak, that's one of the best offensive lines in all of football. So,
no, I think it's the best.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's number one. And they run play action with golf. Mm-hmm. No, I believe it. And then they also have a thing where 14 of their 17 games indoors this year, Moody. So that's a fantasy dream. Mm-hmm. I mean, they literally have 3 games, one at Green Bay, one at Chicago, only one other road game that's not inside.
That makes me want to bump Amon St. Ra up a little bit.
Would you put him ahead of Jefferson?
Yes. I think I would put Amon St. Ra.
Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I would.
Well, Detroit, fascinating. All right, the Green Bay thing, you just brought it up. It ain't a popular opinion in Chicago. Everybody's obviously sick of Green Bay. Green Bay's plus 230 to win the NFC North. That's ridiculous to me. I mean, you're talking about a team that went 7-3 down the stretch. Jordan Love finished as number 5 fantasy quarterback. He was terrible the first 8 weeks. I mean, I remember it was like a joke. Like, I had a tweet thing. It was like, if Jordan Love's playing the game, I'm betting the under because the first 8 games went under. But that's the thing. People evolve and change. LaFleur, great offensive coach. And they had a lot of young stud receivers like kind of come out of nowhere late last year. They're saying Christian Watson figured out his hamstring problem. We'll see. I got to see it to believe it because he's had so many of them. But he's a great down the field threat when he plays. And then you got Jaden Reed, Wicks, Romeo Doubs, bunch of weapons to catch the ball. I didn't like I said, I just think Aaron Jones was like such a unique talent for them. And, I don't know what to think of the Jacobs thing. I mean, he got 4 years, $48 million. They still have A.J. Dillon. I don't know what to think about that running back thing. They got the offensive line a little bit in flux. Their 2 veteran tackles are gone. So that always is a little concerning. I know I'm a nerd and nobody wants to ever talk about the offensive line stuff, but I always talk about the offensive line stuff because I think, everybody's obsessed with fantasy football, but the O-line thing really matters. But I think the offense is going to be just fine. I think Love is, really knows it, should be good. The question on them is defensively, this Moody, remember during the Aaron Rodgers year, everybody would always be like, why don't they ever get him weapons? Mm-hmm. Green Bay's got 7 first-round picks starting on defense. But they got a new defensive coordinator. They brought in the Boston College head coach. It looks like Jeff Healy. I didn't like Joe Barry. I like them moving on from him. Their secondary definitely wasn't the best last year. Jari Alexander, elite corner when he's healthy. But I think the defense could be pretty good. Quay Walker, good linebacker. Still got Preston Smith rushing the passer. So I don't know. I think Green Bay's going to challenge Detroit in this division. That winning culture, nobody wants to go up to Green Bay in November, December. I can't get my mind off that Green Bay-Detroit Thanksgiving game when they just went in there and just beat the hell out of them. And Green Bay winning that playoff game. You know one thing I like about the Green Bay Packers, Moody? You're a guy that believes in youth. The youth will rise. Average age on that team last year was 25 years old. Youngest team in NFL to win a playoff game since 1970. How's that for a stat? They're only going to keep getting better. Detroit's also kind of got that going on, though, with Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra, and a lot of their core is really young as well. But it seems like Green Bay ascending on the right track. Their over-under is 9.5 wins. I get the Detroit's favorite over them in the division, but plus 230, I think Green Bay should be plus 160 or 170. So I'm taking a long look at Green Bay, possibly there.
This is one place where we disagree. I think 9.5 wins is the perfect spot for the Green Bay Packers. I'm not sold on these young receivers that came out of nowhere because they came out of nowhere. I'm still not sold that these are going to be elite receivers in the NFL. And I also cannot get the first 8 games of the season out of my mind with Jordan Love last year. I understand he can evolve. If he continues what we saw at the end of last year,
you need to see more.
They're going to be a good team. I need to see more before I'm in on them. I believe more in the Detroit Lions than I do the Green Bay Packers, and I just don't trust these weapons on the outside yet. I know people are trying to say Dobbs and Watson are going to make plays, but I need to see it to believe it. I'm not in on the Green Bay Packers.
Okay. Well, so you like Detroit to win that division?
Pretty easily.
Pretty easily. Okay. Well, I like Green Bay to fight them. for it. And it's interesting. Green Bay's like plus 650 on DraftKings to win NFC and plus 230 to win the division. Like, that's wild. Like, obviously, I would like the division odds more than only plus 650 to win the NFC.
While we're in the NFC North, are you worried about Jahmyr Gibbs? I know they talked about a hamstring injury.
Got to monitor it because the thing is, you got to watch his workload. You also still have David Montgomery who can vulture touchdowns, but Detroit's looking to make a playoff run. You got to be careful about workload. But the thing with Gibbs, he's just so explosive. Hamstring injuries can linger, obviously. So it's definitely not nothing. That's for sure.
Another one we had, Mintzy, who is going to be the best rookie quarterback? And I know you have
a
very strong take on this.
No, I like Caleb Williams, don't get me wrong. And like you said, he's in such a situation to succeed with all the Chicago talent. But, look, I love Jaden Daniels. Love him. Thought he had one of the best seasons in the history of college football last year. And when you look at Jaden Daniels, my alarm going off. Wow, 9:40 already. Amazing what happens when you start talking college football. Time just flies when you're having fun or talking pro football. Love Jaden Daniels. Love his situation. So Cliff Kingsbury, OC in Washington, should be a wide-open offense. Their defense sucks. I mean, I know Dan Quinn's there. Could improve some just because he's a good coach. Maybe they got a couple guys in Deron Payne and Allen in the front seven. Secondary's trash. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to be seeing some wild shootouts. Thing with Daniels, ran for 1,200 yards at LSU. Led the SEC in passing, can chunk it, but like not a quarterback that like locks on his first receiver and runs. A guy that's going to go through his progressions, get to his third and fourth option. Underrated weapons to me. Terry McLaurin's always been good, just had bad quarterbacks. You and I both like Jahan Dotson a lot. I know he looked good his rookie year and he's been banged up and stuff. He could re-break out here.
Well, he's got a quarterback now that has the arm to push it down the field and is willing to push it down the field.
Deep fantasy sleeper.
Huge for Jahan Dotson. That's what he needs. This is a guy that's going to beat you downfield. He's not a great underneath route runner by any means, but I could definitely see him catching some bombs from Jaden Daniels late in contest.
Yeah, and the running back core, Brian Robinson, people are acting like Austin Eckler died. He was like a first-round pick in fantasy, top 5 the last few years, and now he's the number 32 running back. I like it. You think Cliff Kingsbury is going to stick to a power running game? Hell no. Mm-mm. And they're going to be playing these wide-open games. Eckler's going to be, especially PPR, he's going to catch a ton of passes. He's the guy I'm targeting as my third or fourth running back on all my teams.
Do you think Daniels is legitimately 6'4"?
He's tall. Yeah, he's 6'3" at least. He's tall. He's skinny. That's what they say. If there's always concerns of he's got to learn how to take hits better. He took some serious shots in college. Do you remember that famous Ole Miss one last year where
I watched that game.
Yeah. That kind of concerns me, him protecting himself, and he's a little lean. But if he stays on the field, I love him in fantasy because he can run and throw. I think they're going to play wide open games. Crazy long shot. I don't know if they can pull it off. They're 9-1 to win the NFC East. Can he go full RG3 2012 as a rookie? I mean, obviously that would depend a lot on the Cowboys and the Eagles regressing, but there's questions about both right now. There's some chemistry stuff on both. I mean, obviously they both have a ton more talent than the Commanders, though.
Mm-hmm. No, my big thing with the Commanders is their defense is going to be the worst in the NFL.
You don't think Dan Quinn's really good though?
We'll see. You gotta show me. It's one of those things you gotta show me. So I think it's great for the value of Jaden Daniels though, and probably rookie of the year in my opinion. I think he's gonna put up enough yards, enough points that he ends up winning rookie of the year. That's probably a bet that I'm gonna go.
And fantasy too with the running. I mean, you got those quarterbacks that can run and throw. I mean, they're gold. So his upside is just so much. But the thing is, the Commanders were the worst D in the NFL last year. I mean, let's say Quinn comes in and does a good job. What do they get, the top 25, top 20? I mean, they're still going to be playing outscoring games even if they improve a little bit. But really, really like Jaden Daniels. Taking a look around the rest of the NFC East. Moody, you're a Cowboys fan. Dak Prescott from your hometown area. Well, he's from Houghton, right by Shreveport.
Sure.
A lot of weird stuff going on there. They've had 3 straight 12-win seasons. I feel like Dak might be the most misunderstood player in pro football. He led the NFL in touchdown passes last year. And everybody does is remember his playoff stuff. It's kind of Lamar Jackson, I guess, has a similar thing with that too. But CeeDee Lamb in a contract squabble right now. Obviously, they got to get him signed. The running back situation is kind of weird bringing back. It'll be funny. Dak and Zeke, 9 years later, still together doing it. Hard to believe. With Rico Dowdle, I do think Brandon Cooks is decent number 2 option, especially in the games on turf. I thought he played better toward the end of the year. Jake Ferguson, top 10 tight end, thought he emerged last year. So, everybody keeps saying Cowboys' only weapon, CeeDee Lamb. I think they've got a little more than that. I'm worried about the defense regressing a little bit. Micah Parsons still an elite pass rusher. Not sure what they're going to get on from Trevion Diggs, who's still not practicing from that ACL last year. But what do you think about the boys this year? Is this a regression year?
Hey, Jerry Jones, you old asshole. Quit being rude to your players. Quit being condescending and pay your stars, man. The Cowboys flat out need CeeDee Lamb on the field if they're ever going to see a Super Bowl during your lifetime, Jerry Jones. Vince, I became a Cowboys fan in like 1995. My dad was a huge Cowboys fan. So growing up, I was so into the boys. I bled for it every Sunday. And as I got older, I started to realize more about Jerry Jones and how he's running things and how much of a dick he can be. And I've, year after year, lost a little bit of love each season for the Dallas Cowboys. I love Dak, don't get me wrong, but I want to see the boys finally put it together one time in my lifetime. I mean, it's been so damn long. I'd love to see a Super Bowl. Obviously, the Rangers got a World Series. I'd love to see the team finally make something happen, and I really don't think it's going to happen while Jerry Jones is there just being freaking Jerry Jones. Sucks.
My thing is just there's got to be a hangover from that playoff loss for Green Bay because they were all in last year. They were the number 2 seed. They had a home playoff. Everything. The situation couldn't have been better going to that playoff game, and they lost Dan Quinn. Mike Zimmer, obviously, I've always liked too, but I still think they had something going with Quinn on that defense. Zimmer runs a different scheme as well, so there could be an adjustment. I don't know. Feels like there could be a little drop for the Cowboys this year. Like you said, the chemistry stuff feels a little weird. The Eagles are the favorite at plus 110, I believe, in that division. The Eagles changed both coordinators. I'm hearing there's rumblings that Jalen Hurts and Sirianni are having some problems, though, which concerns me a little bit. A guy you're familiar with, Kellen Moore, old Dallas Cowboys OC and Chargers OC from last year taking over. I don't like the hire. I guess he's better than Brian Johnson, but I'm not the biggest Kellen Moore guy. And when I watched him in Dallas forever, look at the year Dak had last year, best year of his career, right when Kellen Moore left. Do you think that's a coincidence?
Right.
I don't know. I think Kellen Moore, you got to watch out for the Eagles. Are they going to drop Hurts back too much? Because, Hurts, it's all about the rollouts, him running, running the ball, throwing the ball deep. He turns Dak into too much of a shotgun drop back quarterback, and I'm concerned he's going to do the same thing for Hurts.
I'm not as worried about the Eagles. I think they're the kind of team that can deal with that internal turmoil. They kind of feel that way. Jalen Hurts has always handled himself very well. From most of what I've seen from Jalen Hurts, I feel like he's handled himself well. I know him and A.J. Brown had a couple disagreements, but everything I've seen from Hurts, he seems like a dude that handles himself well mentally. Maybe we'll come to find out that there's more stuff happening in the background, but I think the Eagles should be okay, especially if the Cowboys regress a little bit. We know the Giants are going to be terrible. Washington will be fun, but I don't think they're a true competitor because of their defense. I think the Eagles win this division.
Okay, well, my thing was just that collapse down the stretch. The Eagles were like 8-1 last year after they won that Monday night game in KC, and, man, they just melted down the stretch, ultimately getting blown out by Tampa in that playoff game. I'm wondering if anything carries over. They brought in Vic Fangio as DC from Miami. I think he's an upgrade. The secondary was really bad late last year.
We got to mention Saquon, though. They added Saquon. I know that this is a team that has had some success in the running game with a bunch of different pieces. I think they finally have a guy back there that can make it happen for them. Saquon Barkley's been running into brick walls for the last 4 years playing for those god-awful Giants. I'm so happy for him to get out of there. I hate that he went to the Eagles, but I think he's going to have a pretty good season. I know that's something that Che and I disagree on, but I like Saquon Barkley to have a very solid season and catch some footballs out of the backfield once again.
You mentioned the Giants. Is there anything you like about this team at all?
Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing. I think they're going to be terrible once again. I'll tell you this. I love watching Daniel Jones get hit by pass rushers, though. There's something about it because I hated the Giants growing up, and I just love watching Daniel Jones get smacked out there. So that's one of my favorite things every Sunday is watching Daniel Jones run for his life and ultimately be sacked 5 or 6 times. Love it.
Oh, man, that's so mean. I am curious to see what Malik Neighbors, the first-round pick from LSU, does. But I feel like so much of fantasy, I think he just landed in a bad spot.
Yeah,
I felt like imagine if he'd ended up on the Falcons with Cousins, and I was actually terrified about that going to the draft. I was like, please keep Malik Neighbors.
Well, here's the thing. If somehow the Giants are able to figure out their offensive line situation and create time for Daniels to get the ball to Malik Neighbors will probably be pretty good. The talent is there. I just don't know that they're going to have time for him to really get in deep into his route tree,
Yeah, and there's also the rest of the weapons. It's like Wan'Dale Robinson, Slayton, Bellinger, Darren Waller retired. Devin Singletary is their starting running back.
Damn, what a beast.
I don't know. Hard to see. A lot to like on that front. I got an interesting thing we're going to, as we get out of here, I have an interesting brick watch call coming up in a minute, and I feel like everybody pranks me so much at Barstool that I allegedly have someone that's interested in buying a bunch of brick watches. I'm going to make the phone call, but my guard is up. I've been pranked so many times. You know, I mean, I love brick watch. You know, hit me up if you want them. You know, great watches. But I just feel like I'm at a point now where I've been pranked by the Yak so many times, especially for that Expedia disaster on that trip a few months ago, that if it looks too good to be true at Barstool, sometimes it is. And I also might be the easiest target in this entire building.
Mintz came in there last night. He was like, dude, I got this guy that wants to sell me or buy 30 watches. But I don't know if it's a prank or not. So I'm going to listen in on the call. We'll see how this goes. I'm going to record it. If it's legit, this is awesome. This is good for Mintzy. If it's another prank, we're going to.
It'll be funny. But either way, but usually the pranks, my guard's not up, but like my guard's up on this one. I don't know. I just, but either way, going to be an interesting phone call. When's the first Fantasy Football Factory podcast sponsored by DraftKings coming out?
Drop it in just a little bit. They're getting me some of the login stuff so we can get that posted. Episode 1 is finished. It'll be coming out in just a little bit. Quarterback previews, and then we'll have running backs next week. You can look for clips on FFF Pod socials.
Twitter
and we'll
Insta.
have a bunch of stuff coming out throughout the course of the day.
Yeah, and we're going to do a lot of fun stuff. Moody's going to be running the FFF Pod socials too, posting his favorite props. And look, we're getting some people asking. I think we're leaning toward bringing the Sunday morning thing back. You know, it's just fun. Why not? We're all in. It's football season. We can't do enough. You know?
Yeah, no, I agree. As long as Chay's cool with it, I'm good with it. I mean, we'd probably do it from 11 to 11:30 Central. I think that's the perfect time. Inactives are out. What we can do is we can quickly hit DFS once again.
Favorite prop bets.
Yeah, our favorite prop bets. We can update our DFS if we need to, and then obviously we'll do some who to start type stuff.
Hell yeah. Golly, I just love this. I just get so excited when I get to come in here and just talk football. It's football season. It's great. We're going to be talking, and look, hey, you need a spot to talk football, college, pro, gamble, whatever. We're going to give the people what they want on this Wake Up Mintzy. So, as always, thanks to chat, and thanks to Dude Wipes and Stella Blue for having us. Moody, podcast coming out today. Excited about that. Crossing my fingers on this brick watch call. Like I said, I guess if I had to give it a ratio, I'm thinking it's like 80% a prank at this point. So we'll see how that goes. And, man, a lot of exciting stuff. Oh, yeah, I want to mention this before I get out of here, Moody. Finally getting into Wrigley Field tomorrow.
Nice.
120. People say the Friday Cubs is the best game. We're doing 120. My boys are coming up here. We got our $500 fantasy auction on Saturday. So pretty dang exciting stuff. Also, shout out, I mean, obviously, everyone knows how great Pardon My Take is. Pardon My Take had my guy Wright Thompson and Mickey Hart from the Grateful Dead on. They released Rhythm, I forgot the name of it, but it was like a documentary about history of Rhythm with Mickey Hart and Dead with Wright Thompson on ESPN Films. I thought that was a spectacular interview by Pardon My Take, and Wright actually hit me up after saying he was like, dang, he's so impressed by Big Cat and PFT, and I was like, they ain't the number one podcast and sport podcast in the world for nothing. You know, those guys, he said the questions they asked were amazing, and Mickey Hart was super impressed. So I thought that was really, really, really cool. All right, Moody, Fantasy Pod coming out. Let's go have us a freaking day. Thanks, as always, to everyone watching and to Dude Wipes. It's going to be a hell of a weekend. What's not to love? Just the vibes are high. Let's go enjoy your life, people. It's going to be a great summer.